So, welcome back, guys. We decided to further discuss this week pornography because there's a lot to talk about, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, a lot of the stats and information that I found were so almost like alarming that I am very intrigued to learn more.
You're so silly.
I just feel like the one specifically about like 50% of the time that the internet is used, it's for sex purposes, and just how many clicks there are on Pornhub and all those other like porn sites.
Yeah.
I just found to be, I don't know, it's crazy. People like sex, people like porn,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like food everywhere. Right? No one's ever really hungry.
Yeah. Totally.
It's like when you say, I'm American, it's like saying, I'm never hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like paraphrasing a Jim Gaffigan.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why there's so many programs for people to stop eating.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge problem.
Dude, it's like the no fap movement that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much pornography, but now there are like support groups and sites that
It's like
support not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually kind of goes into what we wanted to talk about today, because I want to learn more, and so I dove in a smidge further to researching how pornography actually affects your brain. And there's not a lot of conclusive scientific evidence to support, it being negative or positive, but there is plenty of research to discuss how it makes people feel, and a lot of it is negative. A lot of correlations that I found in the research suggest that the more porn you use, the less satisfied you are in your like sexual life, like your real life.
Yeah.
I tried to look up, some positive correlations and stats, and there are some, and we can come up with our own too. But I just feel like, I'm like, this is crazy. It's like there's more positive kind of effects of pornography research done in like 2010, 2007. But if you're starting to look like 2018, 2019, there's like, it's really hard to find positive feedback about how pornography makes you feel or affects your relationship or your sexuality.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, what do you think about porn, John?
That's a silly question.
Let's talk about how we feel. Let's talk about the positives of porn to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want me to start, or would you like to? Name a positive.
A positive?
Yeah.
You get to see things that you maybe wouldn't think to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
different positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like an educational tool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I didn't know what pegging was until we got an internet, and now you're all I can ask you to peg me.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
You know what
How do you
pegging-
feel today, by the way?
That's why I'm leaning
So
forward.
if you don't know what pegging is, this is a good opportunity to get on Pornhub and just type it in and you'll know right away.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with pirates.
No.
Except maybe sometimes.
I mean, I feel like, pornography could be good for that person who is feeling lonely and they have this fantasy and they feel like they're weird for having this fantasy, and then they decide to look it up and they find they're not alone. So that is a positive way that porn could affect someone's life, right?
Yeah, you just type in anything and it pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a quick fix if you're feeling really like, you need some action and that you don't really have anyone. Don't go out and try to, get it anyway. You can just sit at home and find it, right?
Yeah.
But
I wonder if that helps, like, people having the release. That you have a place to go and instead of like accosting someone. I don't think that actually helps.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that's
anything-
interesting. I don't know. I don't have any data, so
Yeah.
it would just be us speculating, but
Just pure speculation.
yeah.
I feel like I guess if you compare it to drugs, just having constant access to drugs, like, are less people stoners in Denver because you can just get it whenever you want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's evidence to, like, in other countries in terms of, like, drug use and alcohol use. I think in Europe, children drink or are offered wine at a younger age, and alcoholism overall is less prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's something to be said about if we keep it all, like, tight and, don't talk about it, or it's
Yeah.
hush-hush, that it makes it a bigger problem.
Should for sure talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it, like, with someone when you start dating them.
Yeah.
Or decide to be monogamous.
Yeah, I
Throw it out
definitely
there.
think pornography is something you should discuss when entering a monogamous relationship.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about it a little bit.
And I had just told you that I was watching it at the beginning of our relationship, and that's what I meant when I was talking about edging myself, because I wanted to, like, save my ejaculation for you. I didn't want to, like, be all, like, worn out or whatever, because you still make me feel this way, but I guess I've trained myself better.
Yeah.
And, like, the excitement of us first being together is obviously not here because we've been together for a long time, but you still drive me insane, to be clear.
Yeah.
But at
Huh.
the beginning, I was like an insane person. I was like a crackhead, but for sex. Yeah.
So you kind of used it as a tool.
Well, there was nothing around. I mean, you weren't there.
Yeah.
So I would be excited for you.
Yeah.
And I would watch porn because it's there in a sex.
Yeah.
And then I would never, like, finish the job on myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I always had you'd sent a lot of, like, pictures at the beginning. Ooh, spicy. But I guess the more I talked to you about it and, like, you seemed uneasy about it, that's when I started to not want to go to it, but it made me feel bad when you
Yeah.
felt like I was, like, comparing you to someone else, or I was wanting something else.
Yeah, and we talked about that
And
in
that's
last
not-
week's episode,
Yeah.
like how we feel about porn personally,
Yeah.
and I definitely feel more comfortable with it now in our relationship than I have in past relationships,
Yeah.
because we've communicated
Yeah.
very clearly
Yeah.
about it. I
Right.
mean, we still find little surprises about one another
Yeah.
often, but, we have done a good job about talking, decently and a decent amount on a pretty regular basis
Yeah.
about things like this.
Yeah, and, well, because of that, we've been able to have a lot of fun with it.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
super important.
Yeah.
I mean, there is kind of back to what you were saying, there was on some positive feedback when it comes to porn use that I found. The University of California found a positive correlation between porn watching and libido. So maybe it does have something to do with what you were just saying, where people would use it but not abuse it. Maybe you just watch it and you don't necessarily, like,
Yeah.
orgasm.
Yeah. Or sporadically, like, once or twice
Yeah.
a week.
And
I
it
don't
just
know.
keeps your mind, I would imagine as you get older, and maybe sex kind of leaves your mind a little bit, but it kind of gets you excited, and you can use it to, like, refresh your libido.
Yeah.
And then if you're monogamous, use that in your relationship.
This is an old guy's trick. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but if you want to, like, last longer with a girl, you watch porn and you squeeze a few fellas out, That way you're, like, not underperforming later.
This is an old guy trick.
Yeah. I mean,
For all
it is. It's
you
common.
boys out there.
Right. I've heard that several times.
I don't know. So then this leads us. Oh, go ahead.
I never did that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the past, have you, though, when you were younger?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I was.
Because we
I was
all
never-
know that you started young.
I was
thanks
never
to Dad.
confident enough to think, oh, this is going to go well. I need to make sure I'm ready for it. It was always a surprise if someone was gracious enough to be like that with me. I don't know. It was a mess. It was all a mess.
Gracious enough.
It was
Maybe
all-
they wanted and they were like hoping you were going to be gracious enough.
I know. I didn't have confidence. I still don't have a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
But some working on it,
I don't want you to have too much confidence.
Too much confidence. Isn't that silly?
Yeah.
How that works?
But yeah. So that kind of leads us into like, what are some of the negative correlations? And I feel like the one that, so to start off, so Cambridge University, a study done by Cambridge University found that porn triggers brain activity in sex addicts in the same way that drugs trigger, that response in drug addicts. So even though it's not enough to declare porn being inherently addictive, it drew correlations between brain activity and age. So kind of what you were saying, like we were kind of joking and suggesting it to young boys, but maybe not, because according to the study, if you start watching porn younger, like the younger you are, the more impact it will have on your neurological system in your brain, and then will last longer and into adulthood. Yeah. Like your abuse of pornography. Yeah. So that was interesting. I don't know. It's not an addiction, but
it's not classified as
an addiction.
Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert. But young boys out there, maybe think twice about getting on and yeah. It's because it's so available. And if it's something that's going to stick with you in your relationships, like throughout the rest of your life, that sucks, because the real thing is amazing. Yeah. If you're doing it, it's consensual, of course, and you with the right person and you found intimacy, it's so awesome. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. It's good stuff. But I think that so this study then, this is the National Health Service in Britain. They recently noted an increase in erectile dysfunction in young adult males. Yeah. So if these boys have started young or whatever, which would make sense because porn, it's been over the past 10 years that it's like been extremely accessible on the internet. So everyone's just watching porn all the time. And these boys, these young healthy males, are having a hard time, with an erection. Hard time.
Oh man.
Like maybe.
Well, there was...
It has to do with porn.
Right, there was an Adam Sandler movie where it's him and his wife and his kid, and there's another family, and they kind of go over all the different standard problems in the modern family. There was an anorexic girl. There was a girl that was trying to make it as like a model. I think is probably like the equivalent of like an Instagram model, and her mom was taking photos for her. It was very odd. The dad and son were watching similar porn or on each other's computer, but the son, who was a virgin, there was a scene where he was going to lose his virginity, which should be very exciting for this young gentleman, and he couldn't, because he'd become so used to doing it in one way. Yeah. And I don't know if it was you or me that had brought this study or this conclusion to the table, but that if you get the conclusion is that if you are used to masturbating and you're watching porn, a lot of people like guys are like lying on their back and have the phone, and then you get used to just doing it in that position. Like you train your brain.
Visual.
You train your brain to only enjoy sexual activity in one
position.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can rewire it because you train your brain to be with one person for a long time, and then they're awful and you get divorced, and then you train your brain to go to another person.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's just like anything else. If you fucking do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like if you run all the time and you don't ever take a break, you're going to blow your legs out.
Yeah.
If you eat food all the time, if you always say yes to pie.
Yeah, and you give it to a young person with like hormones that they don't know how to handle. Yeah. Of course they're going to abuse it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about how we're going to talk to the kids about it.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be something to discuss on Trust Me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of different parenting methods. I think this is something that I can see the benefit to not trying to get ahead of the curve and be like, hey, because that's what my dad was trying to do with me.
Boy,
he was like, maybe. I know you're gonna see it sometime, so might as well be with me.
Oh God, I mean, there are people that are proponents of using pornography in like sex education.
Yeah.
But the right kind of pornography, because
Right.
that kind of leads me into another alarming negative fact that I found, which is that okay, so these are newer studies done by Psychology Today, and they researched the most popular porn videos on Pornhub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they found that only 18% of these videos showed female orgasm. That sucks. That is awful.
Yeah.
It's so male driven. So like we can't use porn in sex ed classes. You're setting everyone up for failure.
Yeah. I mean,
what the hell? That's awful.
if you're making a lady orgasm 18% of the time just out there in the wild, that's actually a pretty good stat.
I would say, man, I think you should try a little harder.
It's like an average batting average, 180.
I think you should try a little harder.
Yeah.
This is in comparison to
I was
78% of men reaching orgasm in the like most popular porn videos right now.
That's 22% of porn without any orgasm.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's 22. That's furry porn where you can't tell they're ejaculating because they're dressed like animals.
Oh, we can talk about that too.
Oh, they're all over the place.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was very alarming. Like it's so male driven, and so to me that's a very that's a negative finding. I don't like that.
I don't know if that's changing or not, because Pornhub, most of what gets uploaded to that, I don't know if most, but there's a large percentage of people that are real people having sex upload to Pornhub. So I think that over time, maybe balance
it would shift. I don't know. Yeah, but it's yeah.
Because I listened to that podcast, Seen Not Heard, and they interviewed a couple on there, and they were talking about wanting to show it from both ways. And like one of the things that made them want to make it for themselves, this couple, was because of what you were saying. Mm-hmm. It's not fun for women to watch a lot of porn, and maybe more women would watch porn, and that is going to naturally bridge the gap. You'd watch some, but you weren't never like searching and going through and had like an understanding of it. But I'm sure there's a lot of women that don't watch it because it's like,
well, I think it's important too for men to understand, and if you're gonna set the tone and like porn's everywhere now and everyone's watching it, then like let's be real about it. Like as a man, like you have to understand, that is a very important piece of it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And if you're just watching that and that's what you're used to, and then there are tons of studies that discuss like that's how men go into sex and expecting it. Yeah. And they're disappointed, Yeah. I mean, it's like,
if like you're 14 and you're a boy and the first porn you stumble across is like hardcore.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of it,
like, is that what I'm supposed to do?
That's awful.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's where you aggressively thrust your pelvis into the girl's face and grab her by the back.
Yeah, that's like what, sadly, I feel like a lot of porn is.
Yeah.
It's like there's violence, there's like a lot of teens and like, and
I don't know if a lot of it's violent, but even like on the tamer side, it's still very male driven, and there is like spanking, which is you hitting someone, but it's like fine.
Playful, yeah.
It's playful, but you still have to have context, and you have to understand, okay, we've talked about this, it's fine, we have a safe word, whatever, Mm-hmm. You can't just surprise someone with that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can. Some people like that. Some people are paid, but not everyone's like that. So that comes from years of reading people. But 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whenever you start, that's not a thing that they're able to do. And then you're also conditioning women to think that that's okay. So you're kind of like tolerating, like, well, that hurt a lot, but like I guess that's what it's supposed to do, because I've also watched porn as a 14-year-old girl. Not me, but like in this hypothetical world. Mm-hmm. And you've been taught that's how it is. I think you're
impacted by it, whether you know it or want to admit it or not. If you're watching it on a regular basis, or even a semi-regular basis, or just infrequently, it affects you. Yeah, it affects your subconscious, your conscious mind, what you think sex should be, and it should be a conversation that we continue as a society, because it's new. We're pioneers here. Yeah. It's like.
Yeah, and it's going to stay around. It's not going to go away.
I mean, so what is also alarming in these newer studies that Psychology Today released are that, like, overall, the more frequent porn viewing was associated with lower sexual satisfaction, like overall. I mean, so if anything else, it's like you should think about, okay, if I'm going to watch a lot of porn, it probably means I'm going to be less satisfied in my actual, sexual life. So you have to kind of consider, all right, well, what do I want, really?
Yeah. Not everyone can have the most beautiful woman in the world as their fiance.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate in that regard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're implying me.
Yeah.
Oh, John.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever.
I made the joke before the podcast about that stat where it's like, of course you shouldn't watch Chef's Table all day, every day if your mom's making you ramen noodles every night. But which
doesn't even mean have it to do with like...
Which is a very chauvinistic, I guess,
right.
douchey...
But I don't think at least, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're not necessarily referring to the way like a woman looks. It's more just like, you can get on and see anything you want.
Right. And also,
which you can't just make happen in real life.
Right, and also that could be from the female's perspective, too. Like, it's a female that's not...
Oh, well, you want to know what females research more than anything else?
What's that?
Lesbian porn.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But that's a little off topic. Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. Like, yeah, you can't...
Is that something that you saw somewhere, or is that from...
I read.
You read?
Something that I read, yeah.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I guess it makes sense that women are built to be beautiful, right? As you're always told, we're built for beauty and to attract mates, and that dudes are built to be disposable. Isn't that kind of how it works?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we kind of go back to like archaic brains and stuff, and that could be something we discuss on another episode. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah. Also, when the thing about the chef tables analogy, it's me being crude to be funny, but it's also I'm trying to like make a point. It's like, don't obsessively watch something and blow your expectations way out of water, because that doesn't ever work. It's like if
anywhere in life.
Anywhere in life, yeah.
With anything.
With anything.
I mean, I am a huge proponent of just balance.
Yeah.
In general, the yin and yang. Like you have to keep yourself in check with everything.
Yeah. And it's hard to do with a partner because...
Well, you both have different expectations. And they're not often discussed openly, I feel like.
Yeah. And people change over time, too, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was another one, like there were 3 alarming stats, so we went over the 2 about lower sexual satisfaction and then the percentage of female orgasm displayed. But then also they associated porn with loneliness. They found that like porn begets loneliness and loneliness begets porn. So...
And loneliness begets cats.
Yeah, which... unrelated.
Right. It's like the genie when you have to be very specific. When you ask him what you want, you're like, I want a lot of pussy. No, and he's like, okay, here's porn, loneliness, cats. You got it.
You got it. Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, got it.
It's just, I don't know. I just think that we need to be really honest with ourselves. And because everyone, including our children, can get on and access it, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Does that really mean loneliness and dissatisfaction in the bedroom?
I wanted to say this earlier, and we talked about it briefly because we've been talking about this all week, getting ready to do a film. But we had talked about there was a point where we were like we watched a lot of porn, right? And I definitely got overstimulated, and like you were very nice about it, and we talked about it, and we were like, none for however long, and it didn't take long. And
we weren't like watching a lot of it. I just feel like we were like...
We'd already been intimate like once in that day, and then there was again, and like I was like, I have 2 computer monitors. Let's just do 2, and then this here. And you were like, I don't know, you're very sweet about it. You're like, sweetie, is there too much going on? I was like, But it was, and we had at that point we had to just be real. Have a come to Jesus moment or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overstimulation, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
and they
we
talk
were
about
there together.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that I didn't have that happen by myself, and then you came home when you're like ready to go, and I'm like, I'm scared.
Yeah, and that ruins relationships, I feel
It does.
like literally.
Yeah.
Like, it's happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, that seriously ruins relationships. And
Yeah.
if you're fearful as, like, a woman, like, for example, that your husband is watching porn or lying to you, or you're not good enough or whatever, and you've got that fear, which is like, fear is the killer of intimacy.
Yeah.
So it just kind of acts as like a toxic kind of, I don't know, it seeps in there, and if you don't get control of it, I think it can honestly make your life shittier.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah. This is something that I've done to like mitigate porn or just sexualized imagery in our society.
Mm-hmm.
When we started dating, I stopped talking. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but it's good to say again. I stopped talking about women and their bodies to other dudes. I don't know if I think that's okay. If you're within like your group of friends or group of guy friends, be like, she's great, she's got big tits, or whatever that is. I think there's a point where it can become grotesque, and I think at any point, if you're saying it in front of a woman and she can hear you, that's fucking disgusting and wrong. I never did that anyway. But I would talk about women being attractive, even to you when we were friends, when we started dating. Mm-hmm. But I 100% stopped, and I see attractive women, I see attractive men, and I'm on Instagram, I'm like, that's an attractive looking thing. But like, because I've in my daily life, I like practice not obsessing over it or even talking about it. It makes it a lot easier to manage, and our sex has very rarely, if ever, suffered. Like the one instance I can think of.
Wait, so you're telling me that you see attractive people on Instagram?
I'm sorry, I don't go and look for them, right?
I love hearing about this.
But if you go to my Explore tab, it's not modeled everywhere because I'm not going and pursuing it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, it's everywhere. I mean, for men and women, sex is everywhere.
You have to.
Particularly, we're discussing like sexual.
Yeah.
The act of sex.
Yeah. But you have to. The point with me sharing that is you have to practice. You have to practice anything and everything to be good at it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be good at sex like us, you have to practice.
Oh, jeez, no one cares. Yeah, I mean, I think good at relationship.
Yeah, that's what I meant, not like...
Right,
yeah.
like literally, because sex is such a big part of it, and not for everyone, but intimacy is, so that can be a lot of things, intimacy.
Yeah.
Right, so you have to communicate to achieve that deep level of intimacy.
Right, communicate.
And then you have to...
Listen.
Totally, and self-control. Yeah. I think is very important.
Yeah.
So,
I love you very much.
I love you too. Yeah. So I feel like we could talk so much more about this, and maybe we'll continue discussing it. I'm really interested in how like young people view porn, and that gets into like a weird area because like you can't really go interviewing like 15-year-olds about this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be appropriate, but I'm just concerned, I guess, a little bit about how that will affect the next generation.
Yeah.
And so maybe we do kind of talk about kids and how we present it to them sometime soon.
So maybe we do talk about kids. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but thanks for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll
as always, hit us up on the gram if any questions, anything you want to add. Text us. A lot of people, everyone that listens to this, to my knowledge, knows us in real life. I'm sure that some people have come across this. If you do come across this and you don't know us in real life, you can search at trustmethepodcast on Instagram. I think it's _. And just comment there, direct message us at trustmepodcast. trustmepodcast@gmail.com is a good way to get a hold of us. Nonetheless, if you know us in person, you can, like you have been, texting, calling, bring it up in real life. We like hearing about it. We talk about it because we want to talk about it.
Yeah, we're totally interested in what your experience is, and if you have any feedback at all, we'd love to hear it. So.
I'm not gonna say the person, but you had like a pretty powerful message.
Yeah, we're not going to
And-
say the person.
No, not at all. But
Or anything about the experience.
not at all. But that stuff like that is, I think, why doing this is so beneficial
I don't
for
want,
us.
my goal, I guess, overall with Trust Me is just to share a message of struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
To achieve some sort of like trust and intimacy in this world where we're like bombarded with imagery and possibilities. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think intimacy and trust is more important now than ever.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, when is it not important? I mean,
Yeah.
right now, of course. Yeah.
It's
all that
good.
matters. But
It's good to reflect because I don't even see all the temptation that we're talking about as like an issue, right? Before we started dating, I knew it was you, but I
when
had to,
we started dating,
but
even.
but before I started dating you, I knew that this is going to be like what you and I looked like was serious intimacy. We talked about like my awareness of the issues that were going to be present.
Mm-hmm.
But in all honesty, it's like never even crossed my mind to do anything other than you, to go anywhere other than you.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to reflect because
But
we are in a
people
place.
have that struggle.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we had that struggle.
We've never had the struggle about wanting to go somewhere else. Like I've never thought I'm going to go see if there's anything else out there.
Even in the beginning, you never felt.
No.
Yeah.
No,
That's
I was
good.
head over heels in love with you, and
I guess I was just fearful because I had so many trust issues when we
Yeah.
first started dating.
yeah, no, and I knew you did, so I knew there was, in a way, you having all those trust issues when we started dating, kind of accelerated the removal of fuckery in my life, because I was like, any little bit of anything is going to set you off and cause you to potentially leave me.
I communicated to you.
Yeah.
Like very directly and frequently about what my expectations were.
But remember a lot of the stuff I did, and you complimented me on this. You're like, oh wow, you got rid of, or you handled this preemptively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I don't need you to say, but thank you for saying that. I'm not saying that because
I
need to be
appreciate
commended
it.
on it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's good to reflect. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm going down a rabbit hole. The point is, we are at a point now, and I think we're sharing this. We're at a point now because we're at a point where we can look back because we have a little bit under us. If you've been in a relationship for even the same amount of time as us, you may not be able to benefit. Maybe you could. But like if you've been together for 20 years and you listen to us, you're probably not going to learn anything. Maybe you will.
I
But
would
we can
love
look
to
back.
learn from people that have been together for 20 years and built 20 years of trust.
Yeah.
Because people aren't perfect and relationships aren't perfect. So there were definitely challenges in those relationships. I would love feedback on that because we still struggle. I still struggle with trust and trusting you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an ongoing thing. And I think the most important thing is to like continually communicate all the time. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So feel free to communicate with us if you would like. We are open to receiving communication.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys so much. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. See you soon.